What's going on, everybody? Stubbs here from Retro Handhelds, back at it again today with the Asus ROG Ally X. This one now has had some upgrades since I last tested it in Taipei at the Asus headquarters, and we're going to take a look at what's different, take a look at Armory Crate, compare it to some other x86 handhelds, and I want to take a look at just what it feels like to play emulation. We're not going to be benchmarking. This is the same CPU as before. It just now has an 80 watt-hour battery. Awesome. I've been using this for a few days now, and I really think just overall it's a great improvement over their last device. It does have more RAM, and the RAM is clocked higher, but as a retro gamer and as a retro handheld channel, we really want to see what this can do for emulation. Stay tuned on our channel for the full review soon, but this pre-production unit in the meantime has been awesome. It has the latest Armory Crate 1.5.7, has a slew of new features in there, so we're going to take a look and then we'll get out of here. All right, let's hop in. All right, Ally X, here we go. All right, once we got the plastic off there. So I like that they included another one of these guys. You can hold two allies on this little stand. There's the unit itself. Ooh. Also comes with a 65 watt charger. Now, I'm not seeing or noticing any design changes, any button differences. Dpad feels, once again, really nice and improved over the original, which was a little more toy-like. Joysticks, solid, definite improvement there. They're a little bit tighter, nice and grippy. Face buttons, yeah, a little bit taller, and they feel good as well. The two front-firing speakers, shoulder buttons quite clicky, and really satisfying L2 and R2 with a nice feel to the depression. I love the gritty matte texture on the plastic all the way around. Ergonomics are better. Everything's much more rounded. The bump out feels better. The weight is balanced, more centered. M1 and M2 are smaller in a nicer spot. Nice big intake air there, as well as 3 exhausts to help keep the screen and device cooler. They've improved the micro SD card. They've changed out the controller in there, so no more undervolting. USB 3.2 and Thunderbolt 4. Same screen in here, 80 watt-hour battery, so big jump there. 24 gigs of RAM, 8 gigs dedicated to GPU, and that at 7,500 megahertz. This is running Windows 11, for better or for worse, but Armory Crate has come leaps and bounds since I last tested this. The version before had crashes, bugginess, and that was just a early beta that they had on the units that I was trying out. And this one now has been very stable, very happy, as well as a number of improvements, which let's go ahead and talk about that real quick like. They added more gyro function optimization, cool, joystick calibration sensitivity adjustments now, manual TDP sliders in Command Center. That one I found to be the most helpful. An end task button, always good to know. More brightness options in dark mode, love that. More support for third-party devices, all right. In-game UI enhancements for real-time monitor, nice. More resolution options for VRAM allocation. Yep, you can put that up to 8 gigs now, I like that. You do all of your updates now, all from Armory Crate. That makes it a lot easier. Better dead zone stuff. Better gyro across the board, really. The TDP slider, super convenient now. I'll show you that in a moment. Supports 30 watt third-party adapters now, and this is the big one. They lowered the minimum brightness from 25 nits down to 10 nits, so when you're playing in bed at night, that is super nice. In-game UI enhancements, all right, more resolution options. You also now get 900p. So if you want to pick this up, it is $799 at Best Buy, pre-orderable right now. It is released on July 22nd. All right, so if we look at some comparisons really quick, compared to the Steam Deck's a little bit wider, and the weight feels a lighter with how the balance is on the Steam Deck. This is definitely heavier now with the 80 watt-hour battery, but it is nicely balanced across the center beam there. You could even kind of one-hand that. Here's something a little smaller. This is the Loki from AYN. The weight's around the edges more than it is through the center on this one. And the MSI Claw. This one's sent over for review from MSI. We'll be talking about this a little bit. They said they made a lot of improvements on the software side. Some nice ergonomics. The weight's a little funny to me. It's more bottom heavy and just kind of chonking. So we'll see. I like the feel of the sticks. Face buttons are a little off-center. I think they're a little bit better placed in comparison to the joystick here. Now, the new version of this, the Lunar Lake and an 8-inch screen, that's going to have 80 watt-hour battery to match the Ally X. So these might become closer than we think over time. We'll see. I don't have a Legion Go with me, but I've owned one a few times, and that one is definitely heavier. Big, beautiful screen, though, and no VRR, so you do get VRR on here, but I would have loved to have seen OLED. VRR, great. 120 hertz panel, cool. Next time, would love to see OLED and somehow still get VRR, so we'll have to see. So let's take a look in Armory Crate now. So there is a fingerprint reader on here again. And in Armory Crate, you can now calibrate each of the sticks, the triggers, the gyro. Under performance, you can set up manual performance. And here is the awesome thing they've now added in, is the fact that you can dial this down all the way to 7-watt TDP. In fact, so in manual mode, right here in the quick menu, you can just drag your sliders right from the quick menu. Boom, there's my SPL, my SPPT, and the boost FPPT. And you can set that from 7 watts all the way up to 35 watts and boost even higher if you charge this bad boy in. Now, I did test SD cards in here as well, and no issues so far. I actually tested a 1.5 terabyte, get my ROMs going, from SanDisk. Now, typically performance-wise, you're gonna want an A2 card. This is a little bit slower card, but it's the biggest card I had and the most expensive, so I wanted to see, can we ruin it? And I'm happy to say that in my testing, there was no corruption of my data, no undervolting issues or frying or what have you. So now Asus has made a promising commitment to their customers that they're going to improve their RMA practices. They've outlined a number of changes they're going to do to fix their third-party outsourcing that they're using for their RMA, which I'm glad they're making improvements. I think there's still more changes and things that need to happen. So far, I have not had quality control issues on any Asus products. I'd be interested to know your thoughts. Nevertheless, a lot of focus on doing better and listening to both us as reviewers as well as the customer and try to make it right. Your RAS, your RSR, which is your upscaling option, which I recommend running most stuff in 720p and just using this if you want the most battery life, as well as dialing down to 7 watts for retro gaming. So I've done that here in manual mode. Generally for retro gaming, I just keep it at 60 hertz. We don't need 120 hertz for what we're doing there. And that is the focus of today's video. And we'll try at least a few PC games just to test. So here's a good chance to play a Steam game. We'll try out the speakers, take a look at the screen again with Horizon Chase. The sticks feel tight, feel controlled. And Armory Crate 1.5.7, just again, has been pretty solid overall. I guess before we take a look at emulation, let's do a Hadouken test. So I'm going to step up to 10 watt, see where we're at. Now for this video, I'm not allowed to show battery benchmarks, performance benchmarks, or even FPS. So I'm going to have to just relay to you my experience. In the next video, you're going to see all the statistics. This one's not as easy to hit Hadoukens as Third Strike. Oh, there we go. I'm getting it.
Oh, Shuriken. Shuriken. Ah! We did it! Okay.
Yeah, the D-pad's not perfect, you know. It's not perfectly articulating the way I prefer. But it is so much improved over the Gen 1. So much improved. I am much happier with this D-pad. I'll tell you what D-pad I would love to see on here. Let's see. I mean, you think I'm going to say the Steam Deck, but actually, give me something like the AYN Loki where we actually have some clicky action, some PlayStation Vita-like. So I think let's go ahead and move over to emulation. See what kind of trouble we can get into. So 15 watts, really, if you want to play up to even Xbox 360, should be a fairly decent place to start. And let's just jump straight into Xbox 360 with Perfect Dark Zero. We're going to jump around a little bit in our emulation today, and we're going to keep this pretty brief. I love Perfect Dark. But yeah, we're getting full speed here on 15 watt. I did benchmark and test FPS during my testing phase. Get that damn security camera. There we go. Should we do the Contra thing? Shout out to Russ from Retro Game Core for making some of the best button tests. As you can see, there we go. Straight down and a little to the left, and he's moving. So, I mean, I wouldn't say it passes the traditional Contra test, unfortunately. But it is, once again, much better than the original Ally Dpad. Yeah, the battery, though, overall in my testing has been awesome. I've gotten as much as 6 hours out of this on low-end settings, running at that 7-watt TDP, and just sticking to retro games and some light indie gaming. And the battery is just so much improved, and you can even get it pretty extreme with the power savings in Windows now. So combine that with the low TDP and the 80 watt-hour battery, you're going to be looking at, especially retro gaming, really enjoying this thing. Now, we started out the session with 100% battery, and you know, I've had it on for about an hour or two, just kind of fiddling and getting setting up. And we're at 86%. So, we have Bluetooth on too, so let's turn that off. We don't need that. And it's been sipping power pretty decently. For x86, I am very impressed. The Steam Deck still pulls ahead just a bit in its efficiency, but by sheer brute force of the size of this honkin' battery, you're gonna be a-okay. What's nice is you don't have the battery anxiety when you have such a big battery. I can just sort of enjoy it and casually use it and not need to charge it after every session, which is a huge improvement for Windows handhelds. Let's do some GameCube. Start out with some Alien Hominid. And we're still at that 15 watt TDP, but we could probably drop this down to around 10 or 11 at this point. Now let's take a look at the screen brightness while we're on a nice bright display there. So it gets very bright, and I was playing it outside actually, in the sun and in the shade. And here's an example on screen there. I was out hanging out with the fam, and I could see it fairly well. Not the brightest screen in the world, but I definitely could make out what I was doing and enjoy it in direct sunlight even. And I was playing in bed at night, and look how dim that gets. I mean, look at that. That's going to do okay. Combine that with the pretty quiet buttons across the board, minus M1 and M2, which there's a listen there. Not too shabby to play next to your partner. Also, couch gaming I found really fun with this one. Gaming at the desk, sitting down, in the car, on the go. Do some Spyro, enter the Dragonfly. Now, when we do benchmark it, you're going to be seeing definitely be some performance to gain from having a little bit higher clocked RAM and more of it. But that is really the only area where you're going to be seeing an improvement as far as performance goes, which I highly recommend checking out my buddy The Fox's channel if you want to see graphs, charts, and really that hard technical deep dive stuff. So we are running this at 720p and using the built-in RSR upscaler to get to 1080p, which will give us not only the lowest TDP need, meaning we might be able to run this at 7 watts, let's see, but it's going to give you that longer battery life. And to my eyes, the upscaler works really well, and that looks like a solid 1080p to me. Viewing angles on this screen are not perfect, and there is a slight anti-reflection coating once again, which I am a fan of these days, but you really do need to look dead on if you want to get that clear picture. But yeah, Spyro looks beautiful on here, and the sticks are controlling just nice and tight. Now, EmuDeck has removed support for Yuzu, Citra, so no Switch or 3DS today. And you know, you can natively push a lot of these retro systems way beyond 1080p. You could plug in your USB-C to HDMI out. You can plug in some AR or XR glasses if you want, external monitor, and you can definitely push 4K with this. I would recommend docking it at that point. But yeah, everything in my testing just has been pretty smooth. No big issues to mention or note that I've run into on this unit. And they did say that this should be a near retail unit, but the screen is slightly raised a little bit. That's the one issue with this unit. So they're going to fix that. I just love that I'm not spending my time going into Windows and messing with stuff. Definitely need to play my favorite game, Barbie Explorer. Yeah, let's get it. Let's go party. Push that block. There you go. No. And PSP. Gotta do some Mega Man, right? Yeah, face buttons, again, very, very responsive. These sticks need to get worn in a bit, Either that or it might be a little bit too tight because they do get they'll get set in a position for a moment. Sometimes you got to bump it. So you should be looking again, just really solid for emulation on here. And let's see how battery's doing right now. So we are at 79%. Very, very nice. One game that I thought was pretty cool for testing out the second joystick was this Forsaken game. This is a game I used to play as a kid on the, I believe on the N64. And this new remake, remaster, whatever you want to call it, really well made. I really like this. I was actually playing this for quite a while the other day. But yeah, this game is the one that really made me think, okay, the sticks were way too loose on the Ally Gen 1, and these are much nicer, tightly controlled. Aha! Now do I fight the monsters? I get the gun. Now do I fight the monsters? Angry harpies. Oh no. Well, let's leave it there. Well, what did you think of the Asus ROG Ally X? This one I'm pretty stoked on. 80 watt-hour battery, an extra 8 gigabytes of RAM, same CPUs. We're not going to get a bunch of extra performance, but the battery life, super solid. Improvements all the way around. The buttons, those all feel really nice. The Dpad, I really like how they changed that up. The sticks have felt good. The screen, unfortunately, is still that IPS. I would have loved to gotten an OLED screen from this. That it really is the standard, but we would lose VRR until they can get the technology working better. So, okay, IPS, same screen as before. That is one shortcoming. But overall, the hardware has been solid for me on this pre-production unit. Weight, again, I like the weight balance on this. It is heavier, but it's balanced across the center, so I like that. It does get a bit warm on the screen still, but not as bad as before since you have that extra exhaust up top. In general, though, while holding it, it feels pretty cool. Ergonomics, of course, were fixed. I really like that. It's now rounded on the corners. So much better. Gritty plastic feels good. Where to order? If you're interested, this is up for pre-order at Best Buy for $799 USD, available in our description, 1 terabyte, 24 gigs of RAM. But you don't necessarily need to spend that much. You could go for last year's model, which has been dropped in price, and you'll just lose the battery if you're already, playing at home mostly. You're not gonna be on the go too much. You can still stick with your Gen 1 Ally. Totally reasonable. I would definitely recommend it over the Claw at this point. Although, stay tuned for the next version of this because it's going to have an 80 watt-hour battery as well as a better processor, so we'll see. But for me, overall, I still enjoy the Steam Deck just because of Linux. It's just easier to use. So, Asus on your ROG Ally 2 would love to see not only that OLED screen with VRR support, a Linux option, maybe a dual boot option, that'd be really cool. Would love to get the TDP down to 4 watts and really go low power mode for this for retro stuff. That would be ideal for people who want an extreme battery life option and knowing that we're gonna lose performance. Okay, cool that we can get it down to 7 watts now, and all the improvements to Armory Crate. It cannot be overstated just how awesome Armory Crate is now. Before, it was kind of crashy, kind of buggy for me in earlier builds. It has been fully fleshed out. It is stable. It has been rock solid. And I really like the quick TDP controls from the slide out menu, as well as the increased gyro options, the lower brightness down to 10 nits, just the slew of improvements they've made. I'm in Windows much less now than I used to be on the Ally, but I want to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay in the know for all of your favorite retro handhelds. And a special thanks to our patrons, members, and subs for making this channel possible and everything we do. Perks with RH start for as little as $3 a month. Join us in our Discord to chat and play games. And join me on the next video where I'm going to be talking about the Odin 2 Mini again. I have an RG Cube video coming up, as well as a Taipei, Taiwan travelogue video, which should be fun, featuring a few other YouTube buddies. But until the next time, this has been Stubbs with RH. Take care of those handhelds, everybody.